The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome back to another week of K4Wins. I am Tony Kurre, 40 years in the radio business, television business, worked with ESPN, just all around sports nut, like I've been. And of course, speaking of sports nuts, we got them all around the corner here. We got Keefer right below us, Executive Director of the Birmingham Racecourse Casino out in Birmingham area. Of course, he is getting ready for week number one. Gregory, of course, has been on both sides. When I say both, people are like, what does it mean when you say both sides? What I mean is he is taking bets and he's getting. Also, I mean, you know, it's great because like 4 or 5 years ago, this little, we can't talk about this. We used to have to say for entertainment purposes only. The cats are out of the bag. The toothpaste is out of the tube. We don't give a shit anymore.
Well, Kai is very entertaining, so that's fun.
He is. He has taken bets. He has made bets. How about that? He's been doing it for like 40-something years. So the guy knows everything there is about gambling. And we love to have him. You're getting close. You're getting close. And then, of course, up in the left-hand corner is Casse. Keefer. He does it for real now. Las Vegas Sun is the name of the magazine and or rag he works and writes for. Does great stuff as the chief editor and does wonderful work up there. What's going on in Las Vegas this morning there, Casse Keefer?
Just another sunny day. I don't nothing to definitely feel the excitement for football season come on. I mean, the Raiders were all over the news yesterday. I had one thing after the other. So I'm right next to the Raiders facility. I know people are getting fired up about them getting going, and college football has kind of been a big talk too, with UNLV one of the only games, and not exactly showing out the other week against Idaho State. So yeah, definitely feeling like football's back here in Vegas.
We will definitely talk about the pros. The Browns caught a quarterback this past week. They now have 12 quarterbacks left on their staff. So they still have
they're down to 12.
They're down to 12. We have 17 games coming up on Thursday, a full host of games, of course, coming up on Saturday, including here locally, Alabama and FSU. I had to notice, I was looking up ESPN this morning. It's one of the last things I look at. There's a huge article about Kalen DeBoer making year two right for Alabama. And it went back, and everything goes back to 2007 for the Crimson Tide. I'm going to throw it out to Casse first, since we're out there and we're talking to you right off the horn. Alabama Crimson Tide football obviously has been number one for a long period of time. They didn't make the playoffs for only the third time in 11 years. They lost 4 games for the first time since 2007. Unlike other sports, Alabama always seems like the numbers always inflated. Is that true when it comes to college sports as opposed to anything else?
I would say a little bit, especially I guess you could make that case now that, as we've talked about on the show, the last several weeks, it seems like people are now on Alabama. The money's streamed in on them. I would say definitely in the height of the Saban era. Like, I don't even ever remember really betting on Alabama futures wise or anything. So it was like impossible. They were like 2-1 going into every season, a huge favorite in the SEC. So, when you talk to like guys running books, bookmakers, they're not usually on the short list of teams that take the most public action. They're not the Yankees or the Cubs or the Bears, or the other ones are coming to the Lakers. So they're usually not one of the first ones mentioned here is taking a ton of money, but that might be more regionally. But yeah, I mean, for sure, once you put me to the test and I think about it, I mean, it really does seem like, I guess just that decades of success does make them one of the more popular sides to bet on year after year. And certainly I think a lot of times you can make the case that their odds have been inflated in sports books.
I know we got super excited this past week. It was week 0. I hate the fact they call it week 0, but what were the sports books like this past Saturday? We got so excited. And of course, the Dublin game, I guess, was somewhat exciting. We were on the right side. We had the under, of course, a knee at the end of the ball game saved us there. K-State didn't really show up. But what were your thoughts on the week 0 out there in Vegas in the sports books?
Yeah, I'm sure I wasn't out. I was actually out of town, so I wasn't out and about many of the sports books. But I'm sure it was a pretty good atmosphere. I know, a few years ago, or maybe as recently as like 10 years ago, this was still a pretty slow week in Las Vegas. It didn't really start till week 1, especially of the NFL. I mean, that's one of the biggest weekends of the year. Everyone will be here in 2 weeks for the NFL. I mean, I know where you guys are. College football's king, and everyone's talking about college football, but the NFL is still a whole different animal. I mean, sports books wise, like the biggest college game will probably not do as much volume as the NFL game no one cares about. That's how big the NFL is. So it'll be even bigger this week. And I kind of got off my original point, but to combat, the fact that they weren't getting a whole lot of people in town, this is one of the deadest weeks of the year, that like August 20th, beginning of school. And it's still probably one of the slower weeks of the year, but they have made a lot of sports betting events around it. Both the two biggest betting contests, Circa and the Westgate Super Contest, they put up these like contest weekends where they have panels, they give away free entries. They try to fly out, different media people from across the country to do shows there. So, but I think both of those were last weekend. So that just shows you two of the resorts that are, pushing their sports betting products the most. They try to find a way to get more people on hand for the first week of football. And like I said, I can't say I was there first week. I kind of bucked the trend and actually went out of town. But I think that's one way where this week 0 has gotten bigger by flying more people in town for other football related stuff.
I hate soft opens. Like if you're going to do something, let's do it right. And so week 0 to me is just kind of like it's better than nothing. Don't get me wrong, but there's something like the week 1 where it's wall to wall and there's like 16 games going on one time, which is a beautiful thing. And of course, you really had to sit back and look at your schedule, and you could have watched every single game this past weekend. But it's great stuff. Gregory, how did we do this past weekend? I think we did okay in Major League Baseball, did we not? What were the numbers going into college football? Because we wanted to make sure we were on fire before we kicked off college football week 1.
Well, in college football, we went 3-1. We had that over in Sam Houston. Unfortunately, we had Kansas State, who just, in my opinion, did a complete no-show in that game, completely different from what I thought they were going to do. And prop to Rocco Beck, who came out and I thought played an incredible game for Iowa State. And the thing that I didn't think would happen but did is Iowa State made all the best adaptations. They made all the correct changes in the game. We also had Kansas, which I thought was probably the gift of the day there, and the under in the Iowa State game where we got saved. So not a horrible start for us with the first day going 3-1 in there. Yesterday we were 4-3. Last week 22-9-1, and on the year we are 7-17, 367 and 5, which is 66%. But hey, tell me, God, that you're a college football fan without telling me you're a college football fan. I woke up this morning, it's 64 degrees outside. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, the low here in Birmingham, Alabama, is 58 degrees.
I know, right?
27, and the high is 79. Thursday, when I go watch my 7th grader play football, it's only supposed to be 79 degrees. And Friday night, it may get into the 50s before the Hoover game's over.
It's going to be fantastic. I know. I absolutely love it. I mean, it always just feels cooler when college football season kicks off. Right? But for real, about 15 degrees cooler. And of course, it's been just a dreadful summer. We're not going to say our summer's been any worse than anyone else's because it's been just a nasty summer from coast to coast. But yeah, it's just been a fantastic year. I would venture to guess that if you had the under in that K-State game, you're probably going. If you had the over in that game, that's one of those games where you don't ever want to start the season with a really bad beat. And because that thing was flying under the entire, 50.5? It was going under the entire ball game. All of a sudden, K-State gets the 65-yard touchdown. I'm like, where the hell has that been? I've been looking for that thing the entire game. He gets behind the coverage. The next thing you know, they're within 3 again. And it was just a little bit too late. And I'm sitting there watching them get down to the last line. And of course, I've seen several people going, oh, it's all fixed. There's a rivalry game. You got to do that. Dude, I was here when Gene Stallings' first year here was. There was like 4 different games where he could have got the cover for Alabama and took a knee within the 5-yard line. He was not a guy. He didn't care about the coverage. He didn't care about anything that's going on. He was going to do the right thing. And I guess they did the right thing last night. But there had to be some people about ready to shoot themselves, Kip, when that thing went under this past weekend because that was the only game everyone was watching.
Well, one of our favorite pundits, of course, that Kai keeps us up to date with his thoughts, and we will leave that to a person's identity anonymous, was, of course, crying about that, how ridiculous in a rivalry game they're taking a knee. But if he was on the other side and they'd punched it in, that same guy would be writing how Bush League it is and how, unsportsmanlike. I mean, it just comes down to what side side you're on is how your opinion goes. So I find that whole discussion rather comical because, there's a lot of old school coaches that out of respect for their opponent and for the game, we got the game won, why try to punch it in? I guess everybody still has the vision of Joe Pisarcik, the Giants quarterback 20 years ago, 25 years ago. All he has to do is take a knee. Instead, he tries to hand the ball off. They fumble, the Eagles scoop and score and win the game. So I guess that's always burned on the memory. And even more recently, look at last year, Texas 1st and goal at the half-yard line. Look what happens on their disastrous sequence of plays. Instead of punching it in to tie the game against Ohio State, one step from the national championship game, they end up having a scoop and score for a touchdown when protection breaks down. So it can happen. You're better off taking a knee, I guess, to be completely safe. So I kind of find the whole unrest very interesting because it's all based on which side you were on.
I'm not going to throw in Alabama FSU in this game. But Case, I'll start with you. The three big dogs, Texas, Ohio State, LSU, Clemson, Notre Dame, Miami. You get to watch one. That's all you get to watch. Which one are you watching?
Just the actual games?
Yeah. Those three. What's your best one of those three and why?
Well, I mean, it might partly be because of the blow up we had on here a while, but I still actually think the best game is probably LSU Clemson. I mean, I just make it really close to a pick. I think LSU is a slightly better team, but I think it's at Clemson, which has to count for something. The other one actually that came, Ohio State, Texas, I get, the whole 1 versus 2, how much it means to everything. But I kind of agree, and I've heard a lot of people say this, so it's not really an original thought, but I kind of agree that the stakes don't really feel the same just because whoever loses is still almost surely going to make the playoff if they play halfway up to their potential. So I feel like Texas, Ohio State, it takes a little bit of a backseat to me to, the two I was considering out of those would have been the LSU game.
Let me back up a little bit because, you drew up a great point. We got 12 teams in the playoff. Chances are we'll have 16 next year. I remember that FSU Miami game every single year at the beginning of the year, man. If you lost the game, you were done. I mean, you had an outside shot maybe, and if you won that game, you had the inside track to make the playoffs. And now you talk about Texas and Ohio State. There's no doubt that both these teams have a wonderful shot at making the playoffs despite what happens in this football game. So why is this game so important?
Yeah, I just think it's the aura of 1 versus 2. It's something we've talked about a lot too. The Arch Manning mania. I think everyone can't wait to see what this kid is capable of. I mean, there's always a little bit extra when you're the defending national champion. And Ohio State's turned around. I mean, they've turned over their roster as much as any national champion because they bought so many of those players last year and brought them in. They went to the NFL, so they're going to be a very new look. 2 new coordinators, obviously. So I get it from an aura standpoint, but it really does kind of take a little bit something away from it when I feel like this could be the first of 2 times they play this year. I think that's very likely if you look at how highly they rate out in both areas. So for me, it'd be LSU Clemson, but I'd be pretty close. Miami Notre Dame's really intriguing to me too. That's another one that I think is about a pick 'em. I was super high on Notre Dame earlier in the summer, and this is another thing that might knock these 2 games down. Both Ohio State and Notre Dame, all the reporting we heard all summer, everyone expected like Sayan and Carr were going to eventually be the quarterbacks. But if you read everything from camp, everything said they were outplayed by the backups, which kind of I think has made stock go down on both of them. I've heard some reports that we probably will see packages with Minchie and what's the Ohio State kid's name, Kierbaum, whatever, that they might even rotate in. They might be playing 2 quarterbacks because of how well those 2 guys played in camp. It makes you wonder, it opens all these other questions about the NIL era where how much pressure do you feel like if, I think for sure these quarterback competitions get strung along longer, hoping to not make sure the backup doesn't leave. But it also makes you wonder when you're going to your boosters and saying, I need millions of dollars for CJ Carr or Julian Sayin to stay here. I mean, that kind of gives you a big incentive to make sure you give them the job. So, but then again, it's just camp and everything could be different. But I think stock on both those teams has fallen a little bit just with all we've heard about how much those 2 quarterbacks struggled in camp.
Kip, what's one of the 3 games you're going to be watching? Which one intrigues you most?
I think Case is right on Clemson LSU. I think that's the most intriguing game from a competitive standpoint. It's the battle of the Tigers, the battle of the two Death Valleys. There's just so many correlations. The colors are not orange and yellow, respectively. I mean, it's just an interesting game. Intersectional game that and not really intersectional. Clemson's in the South too, but uh, that game is most intriguing to me. But I think the bigger story. So if I had to just watch one, that'd be the one I'd watch to answer your question. But I'm intrigued because so many teams are breaking in new quarterbacks, and Clemson and LSU is one of the few games of the entire weekend where you've got two highly established quarterbacks, two of the most likely Heisman Trophy winners, probably Nussmeier matching up against Klubnik. Both guys have shown flashes of being big time, but I'm not completely sold that both of them are bona fide superstars. I think they've both had enough bumps in the road where I'm really interested. They've gotten so much hype. You would think that these were, guys coming back that, have all this right to be so heralded, but I still think there's question marks about both of them. But at least in that game, you've got established guys. So many of the major contending teams, Case just mentioned Ohio State and their game with Texas. I mean, Arch Mania is a real thing, but is Arch going to be able to back it up? I mean, this is a big stage on the road against the defending national champions for your debut. And the quarterback competition at Ohio State, I mean, how good is Julian saying? We have no idea. There's so many teams that are getting all kinds of attention that we haven't seen their quarterbacks play. Last year at this time, Florida State was ranked number 8 in the country with DJ Ungalele. He turned out to be an absolute dumpster fire, and Florida State finished 2-10. Who's going to be the Florida State of this season? Because I guarantee you there's going to be a team that we're talking about being prominent and being a contender whose quarterback is not going to work out. It's just a fact of life. And that's what fascinates me going into the first week. What are we going to be talking about on Monday?
We saw the K-State Iowa State game, and I was sitting there watching it with my son, who's over there in Clemson. Obviously, they're so excited about it. He's like, I've never seen the campus as fired up as it has been over the last couple of years. So, I mean, this game is just much bigger for Clemson than it'll ever be for LSU, just because of the season they had last year and how they started the season off. What was that, 2-4? It was just not a good start for the Clemson Tigers. With that being said, though, Kai, this is going to be that Clemson -4 and was a 57.5. I think is going to be a very interesting line. You talk about the quarterback plays, though. I fully expect like the Texas Ohio State game to be just an ugly game in the first half. We get in there, we get so excited, we want to see bombs and glasses going, everything's so crisp and so cut. And we saw that Iowa State. It takes a good half just to kind of feel each other out in the first game of the year. And I fully expect to see that, Kai, with the Texas and Ohio State game. We had two of the best teams, but I bet you they're like two of the worst teams in the first 15, 20 minutes.
Well, I will not be watching the Texas-Ohio State game live because I will be watching Tennessee and Syracuse, which is at the same time as Tennessee.
Yes.
I will record that game and watch it. But I don't know if you've seen the hashtag Arch Madness. They have coined that Arch Madness phrase, and I don't know what all they have to do to get that, but that's one. I'm still, I've said it all year, and I'm still very, very, very high on Texas, especially when I got them, +3. Still love it. I think that the LSU Clemson game, I disagree with you. I think that is way more important to LSU. Clemson can lose that game, win their conference, make the finals. If LSU loses that game, the rest of their schedule gets really, really, really tight, and they have no room for margin. I think the line was at 3.5 that I saw this morning. If I could get that down to 3, I'd really love it. I already love Clemson. I think Clemson wins by a touchdown. I have zero faith in Brian Kelly. Everything I've seen about Clemson going into the preseason, I know it's preseason, they have to do like your Cincinnati Bengals and not start slow and get out of the blocks. But I think they can. And it not being an 11 o'clock game helps Clemson. We've talked about it. We really haven't talked that much about the Miami Notre Dame game. And that one, I don't remember the spread, but I like Notre Dame to win that game. But that's just because, I didn't realize Carson Beck threw for a butt ton of yards at Georgia before he was hurt and didn't throw that many interceptions. He just can't move, so I don't trust their defense is one of the reasons why. But yeah, I will be watching the Clemson game more. That'll be the game that I definitely watch, and then I think Alabama, Florida State, like I said, that's the night game, right?
Yeah.
No, that's a 2:30.
Yeah,
Oh,
2:30
is
game.
it Clemson LSU's night, or is it?
Yes.
Oh, I like Clemson even
LSU,
more.
LSU, Clemson, yeah, and then of course Notre Dame, Miami's on Sunday.
Right.
So we got a little spread there.
Yeah.
Hey, and Tony, we would be remiss being here without talking about, which I thought was a huge mistake, seeing Trent Dilfer, seeing Coach talk about the UAB Blazers game, and seeing him complain that he thought Alabama State would have as many fans as UAB was going to have. And
I bet they will.
They probably will.
He did not make me feel great about his future tenure in his press conference.
Well, this is going to be either his last year or it's going to be the first of many. He's not going to have a lot of time left. Of course, he's got to go to a bowl game. This is a team that had winning seasons every year since 2017. They came back, and of course, the last 2 years they haven't done that. And people at UAB, they expect to go to a bowl game now, which is something that UAB hadn't had since 2017. I will say this. I do think he's going to be a good coach at some level. He was a great coach, obviously, in high school. I think it's taking him a while. We have to remember this is the first time he's ever been a college coach, period. And I'm not saying, again, he's going to be successful this year. I do think he'll be successful at some point in his career. I just don't know if UAB is going to be that place. And again, talk about recruiting and talk about everything else. He does have Kitna. Their quarterback situation, certainly a name that you can hang your hat on, which always is a good thing. That was a big gift for him. A lot of people didn't want to have anything to do with Kitna because some of the off-field crap he had going on. But yeah, this is one of these. I talked to Mark last week. I said, while people are having Texas and Ohio State and LSU and some of these bigger ball games, you get the Chick-fil-A kicker. While they're having these things, you've got a UAB that's taking Alabama State, a game that there's not even a line on because it's an FCS Pro. I'm assuming it's going to probably be 14 or 15. UAB should win this game, and they should win very, very comfortably at home. They should be. And, of course, I got the whole coach speak. Well, they bring a great – they're a halftime team, and so-and-so coach does a great job, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, come on. This is an FCS squad. You get a win for an FCS. It goes towards your bowl season, and that's why UAB's got them on there. They're going to have an FCS team on there every single season because it counts as a win towards their bowl season. They have to get that magic number of 6. So hopefully Trent Dilfer, who I've gotten a chance to meet and get to know pretty well, I hope he has a successful season. But it all starts for him on his defense, and they just redid the entire defensive side of the ball. Man, their defense sucked. Their defense was horrible last season. If they weren't going to put up 50, they weren't going to win the football game. So we'll see what happens. You mentioned the Notre Dame game. I think that is so interesting that you have a couple of blue bloods kicking off. It's just one of those wacky kind of weird Notre Dame Miami at the beginning of the season kind of games. It's like, wow, that's just kind of strange. 6:30 coming up on Sunday night. Notre Dame 2.5 and 49.5. And I'll start right there. Miami, Notre Dame. Who do you like in that game, Case?
I'm Oppo Kai. I like Miami. I bet some Miami plus 125 money line. I think Notre Dame's roster is really, really impressive, stacked. But I mean, if there's a team that falls off completely because of quarterback play, like Kip said, I think that Notre Dame would have to be the leader right now. I mean,
I agree.
All we heard was that every day CJ Carr's throwing like 3 interceptions in practice or whatever, and I think the sport's better when Notre Dame is good, so I'm hoping they're good, but I'm a little worried about them right now. Miami, and a reason why I really like them in this matchup is Notre Dame, I think, is going to be able to push people. I think it's not going to be a problem, probably most of their schedules. They're so good in the trenches, they're going to be able to push people around. But, I mean, Miami year after year has like the best offensive line in the sport. They paid up big for a couple of edge rushers this year. I do not see this as a game where Notre Dame is going to be able to push Miami around in the trenches. I am a little bit worried about the skill players for Miami. They lost a lot there, so I don't know who Carson Beck is going to throw to. But I also feel like, and I'm not a huge Carson Beck guy, but I feel like stock's gone just too low on him. I mean, if we're having this conversation a year ago, who are we taking, Carson Beck or Cam Ward? I think people could lie and say Cam Ward.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like 90 out of 100 people are taking Carson Beck. Defensively, they were absolutely horrendous last year. There's almost no way they're not a little bit better on defense. I'm worried about, I think their secondary is not really proven, so it's possible that they could get thrown on, but I just think they're going to be good up front on both sides of the ball. Being at home, I do give Notre Dame's roster just the slight edge, but some of those matchup things and being at home, I like Miami at plus money.
Kip, you brought up a great point, and we've had several shows just on quarterbacks. You and I actually did the Keefer and Kurre show. We just talked about quarterbacks. We talked
because in college football, it's a huge factor that people don't think enough about.
And you would think if I told you 3 or 4 years ago that we're going to have a payroll of $20 million where you're going to be able to go out and buy players, bring all the players in, you would think the quarterbacks would obviously be the first thing you'd want. And you'd think the quarterback play would be off the charts. And here we are. We don't have a clue what a lot of these – one of the only reasons, the Nussmeier game looks so good is because we do know both quarterbacks. But there's so many guys and there's so many uncertainties going into this football season.
Well, you got C.J. Carr starting for Notre Dame. He has not taken a snap in college football, and he's opening up at Miami on the road. It's just, and of course, you might not know this, or maybe you do. C.J. Carr is the grandson of longtime Michigan coach Lloyd Carr. So this is another name, just like not quite as luminous, of course, as Manning, but you've got Arch Manning starting on the road at the defending national champions. I mean, for any quarterback, these are daunting challenges. And I just think Miami's sort of a sleeping giant. I think they had a loaded team last year. I think it's easy to say and point the finger at Mario Cristobal that he has, I think, we did a show a couple weeks ago about what coach in the country loses games for his team. Really? And it was either Kai or Casse that said Mario Cristobal is the poster boy for that.
No.
And maybe that is the factor at Miami that's holding them back. But I just think this is a really tough chore for Notre Dame to go to Miami. I love the Hurricanes in this game. I think they've got all the intangibles. And as Casse said, this day last year, you would take Carson Beck over Cam Ward and just about every other quarterback in the country, just like Nussmeier and Klubnik are being talked about now. Carson Beck was probably the betting favorite or co-favorite right now for the Heisman Trophy last year.
Sure was.
And it isn't like Georgia. Yeah, and it isn't like Georgia had – I love people say Georgia had a disappointing year last year. They won the freaking SEC, for God's sake. They beat Texas twice. They had a bad game in the Sugar Bowl and a bizarre weekend in New Orleans where a lot of things happened, the shooting delaying the game. Kirby Smart's father fell down steps and ended up dying from that injury, broke his hip. It was just one of those kind of weird things. If you watch the game, Georgia was superior on paper. Notre Dame played a great game. Georgia made stupid mistakes and kind of gift wrapped them that loss. But Georgia did not have a disastrous season with road games at Alabama, Texas, and Ole Miss. They won the SEC. And Carson Beck wasn't great. He threw a lot of interceptions, but he is an established quarterback that's played a lot of football. And matching up, and I had somebody that's pretty adept a bunch of years ago said, well, it's easy for me to handicap college games. I look at who has the better quarterback. Now, I know that's very elementary, but, I don't think it's completely wrong.
Yeah, Kai, I want to get into some future stuff. We did a whole future show. If you get a chance to go back and watch it, you can check it out on the Tony Kurre Radio podcast series, of course, on the Coastal Digital Sports Network. Wherever you get your favorite podcast, go check out K4Wins, K4Wins.com, and look out last Friday's game. We did all kinds of futures bets. Thanks to Casse, of course, for all of his futures he's given out throughout the season. Of course, we've all placed some plays. You were talking about the Tennessee Volunteers. We were watching that Syracuse game. Despite that, though, one of your bigger future bets is Tennessee's win total under or over 8.5?
Under 8.5.
Tell me why. Tell me why, and then give me some of the other future bets since we still got some time to get some of those in.
I mean, it's probably it is the largest bet I actually placed this season. Them under 8.5. My second largest bet was Alabama over 9.5. Those are my two largest wagers on futures, and then into the pros with Baltimore over 11.5. It's actually my third largest, but those are some that I really like. I mean, we talked a lot about it, and Case really got me onto this NC State team, which is a game that I like this coming Thursday night. Now, I really like the total in that game, under 61. Dave Doran has really stuck his hat on his defense, and I think their defense is going to be very good this year, actually, after looking into it. And I don't think East Carolina is going to have anything like they have in the past offensively with a lot of the changes that are made. So while I may not lay 14 Thursday night, I think I'm going to jump on that under 61 because – we've been talking all summer, and some of the games we talked about because I was all over Baylor. And just like I flip-flopped on the Baylor game, I flip-flopped on Boise State. I think Auburn's going to win that game now. I really do. My opinion on that game from Thursday night is that I think for Baylor, the running back that is out for Baylor, that was their backup running back, I really loved as he was going to be the lead back, even though there's a backup going with that, and I'm jumping all around. But I've been all over South Florida all freaking summer against Boise Thursday night. Now the line's down to 6 and 5.5 some places. I love Alex Gorish, but I don't know. I'm scared. I know that's not necessarily futures. That's futures from Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, that's in the future. Yeah.
And of course, Boise State's one of those teams you got going to the playoffs. And so if they would lose to USF right off the top, that would not be a good way to kick off your season against the Bulls. Case, give me some of your more futures for people who have not gotten their futures plays in. I know a lot of people waited at the last minute to do that, but give me some of your biggest plays going into college and professional football this weekend.
Boise State's an interesting case. I haven't actually bet anything on them. I've kind of been anti them most of the summer. God, without even playing, they've kind of gone up on my book just with how bad UNLV and Fresno State looked, who are supposed to be two of the main contenders in the Mountain West. I really want to jump in with Kai and be on South Florida here because I like South Florida's team. I think they have a lot of things trending up. They were beaten up last year, still had a good year in Gorsh's second year. I just can't quite – 6 is just too little. I'm really hoping it could get back up over the 7. I think it even touched 10 this summer, 9.5. More than a touchdown, I would be on South Florida there. But, it's just it's tough for me at that short of a number. Futures wise, I've been betting I kind of got it all called back up yesterday and started betting more. I know this one won't be a popular one here based on what we were saying, but since the team's on top of my head, I did end up buying on Miami quite a bit. Plus 450 to win the ACC, and just a nibble. I don't actually think this is going to happen, but if you do the math, I need it like a 2% time. I bet them 50-1 to win the title as well. I feel like the path is there for them to get to the playoff, and someone from the ACC has to make it. I'm a little bit lower on Clemson, so I do like Miami quite a bit. I added 2 more guys Heisman Trophy wise. I guess just yesterday, so I can share those. I wrote about one today. It's in the my Las Vegas Sun college football column as well. And I know Kip agrees on one of them. And I finally, maybe I'm putting too much into all these reports and the training camp stuff. I feel like I've been more plugged in to it than ever before. This offseason. But, when the whole Mateer thing was happening, it was like a complete panic because everything at Oklahoma is just the guys like the prince who was promised. He's just tearing up the defense, looks unbelievable. You've seen his number move at a lot of sports books, but it still hasn't at a few others. So I went and took a nibble on John Mateer at 25-1 to win the Heisman. I think the beginning of the schedule sets up extremely well for them. Two tough games there. I think Michigan at home, Auburn at home, but they should be favored in both of those games. And then around them, they have Temple, Kent State, and Illinois State, who are just like probably the 3 of the worst teams anyone plays. That's just like on a silver platter for him to put these absolutely ridiculous numbers. Where you really, I think at this point of the Heisman Trophy, you want just ridiculous stat production, and you want the narrative around you. And I feel like he can have both because he's one of the only quarterbacks that is really a dual threat guy. I know Arch is too. And Arch, if he lives up to his potential, we're just all wasting money betting the Heisman because he lives up to what he's supposed to be. He's going to win it because of his name, because of the aura around him. But Mateer's really the only other guy I think that can, maybe Sellers, but I'm not as high on South Carolina. I think Mateer's the only guy that can really have the ground and the passing production. And Oklahoma's been so bad now for the last 3 years. If they turn around, it's going to be a huge story. Oklahoma's back, and who's going to be the poster boy of it? He's going to be, even though maybe it should be Ben Arbuckle, who I think people forget also worked with Cam Ward. I just think so highly of Arbuckle. If Arbuckle wasn't there too, maybe I wouldn't be as high on Mateer. So at this current juncture, I mean, I know I bet Nussmeier 12-1, which I think is a great bet. That's my favorite bet I have in my portfolio, but that's long gone. He's like 7-1 now. I think at current odds, John Mateer at 25-1 is my favorite. The other guy I added, I know I just said I bet against this team, but if Notre Dame is as good as they can be, I think it's going to be because of the running game. And if a quarterback doesn't win it, I think it's probably going to be Jeremiah Loves. I think he's going to get just a ton of carries. A lot of places this has moved to like 20, 25-1, but there's one sports book here that still had 50-1. I just thought 50-1 was too high. So Jeremiah Love is the other guy I added. I think he's the best running back in college football. So Heisman wise, Jeremiah Love 50-1, John Mateer 25-1, two things I bet yesterday. And I bet basically every market now. I haven't gotten to the MAC yet, but everything else I've bet. So if there's anything specific you guys want to ask me about my feelings, I can give you the rundown.
I do want to mention Alabama football again, not only because it's so polarizing, and they've obviously been just an unbelievable football team since Nick Saban was there, and now all of a sudden they've got Kalen DeBoer in his second year. But I wanted to ask Kip, because we are in Birmingham, Alabama, and I know a lot of people watch us and they're like, "Why don't you talk more about Alabama? Why don't you talk more about Auburn?" I'm like, well, because we're a national show. We're all over the place. We certainly talk about the SEC a lot because we all believe, I think the SEC is probably one of the best conferences in college football. But
the best, not probably.
I can't quite listen. I've lived here for 40 years. I can't quite put my finger on, and maybe it's just because we've had Nick Saban for 17 years. I don't know, but I can't quite put my finger on this Alabama squad right now. The only thing I could say is I want to know who the leader of this football team is. And I'm not saying that Simpson is the leader. I think he should be the leader, but I don't think he's old enough. I don't think he's gotten the respect of his other fellows. When Alabama doesn't play well, they don't have leadership. And that's what I fear this year, Kip, this Alabama Crimson Tide going to year 2.
Yeah, I haven't thought about Alabama from that perspective. You want your quarterback to take command and be the leader, and maybe Ty Simpson will. I think one of the things that's in his favor is he's the son of a high school football coach, and that kind of personality generally has that kind of built in. And sometimes it's detrimental. Just ask Mr. Optimism down on the plains, Hugh Freeze, who bitched all year last year about Peyton Thorne checking off to plays that went away from what you sent in, sometimes with disastrous results. So sometimes if the quarterback takes that leadership role and usurps the head coach, it's not a good situation. But I think Alabama fans need to hope that Ty Simpson has that, because they don't have a lot of experienced leadership, particularly on the offense. So it is a viable point. I think the best thing in Alabama's favor this year is the schedule. Yes, they have to go to Athens, but other than that, they get LSU and Tennessee at home this year, and I think that's huge. And really, there's not, to me, a lot of trouble spots on their schedule. Case just mentioned Oklahoma. Maybe that would be a game that you'd have to be concerned about, but it's in Tuscaloosa also. I can see Mateer coming in there on the kind of role that Case just talked about and running into a brick wall in Tuscaloosa, because if I'm an Alabama player, I've got 2 games circled in red about 50 times on that calendar. It's Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, because that was 2 highly embarrassing. If I'm a player coming back from last year's team, I'm all over those games as far as focus, because if I'm an Alabama player, and because I know Alabama fans feel this way, they want to completely flatten Vanderbilt when they come here sometime. I think it's in October. Diego Pavia has run his mouth all year how they're a national championship contender and that he owns Alabama and Auburn, which he'll play both them. Auburn has to go to Nashville, but that's on my calendar. And the Oklahoma game, where Alabama, if you talk to Legend and other Alabama fanatics, the disappointing effort they made at Norman that really cost them the playoff berth last year. I mean, they could have overcome the Vanderbilt loss and the Tennessee loss if they go to Norman and take care of business. They don't get left out. That gave the committee an excuse to leave them out, which they deserve by not going there and taking care of business. we've got one regular caller to the radio station that says he's really worried about the Oklahoma game. I can see Mateer coming in there red hot, and Alabama shutting him down. I don't know about this Alabama team. We'll see. I think DeBoer has a lot of accounting to do, because you can't have a team that late in the season in a game of significance just not show up, and that's what happened at Norman last year. So let's see what happens from a leadership standpoint. They better hope Ty Simpson is the guy.
I know after Kalen DeBoer came in and talked to his football team this past week, he left it up to the strength coach to come in, and evidently there was blood on the wall. There were pictures of blood. I don't know whose blood it is or where the blood came from in the Alabama locker room, but evidently it got really dirty. And he's like, basically, listen, if you don't want to be here, get the F out. We don't want you here. And that's something that strength and coordination Alabama's never had a problem with. I will say this, and I know that you already are kind of leaning towards the Baylor way, Kip, but I also want to get Kai's thoughts on this. If the Auburn Tigers lose to Baylor, and I'm not talking about by 3, I'm saying if they don't even show or they don't look good at all, and they lose by 14, I'm not sure Auburn can bounce back. I know people are like, it's only the first game.
Pivotal.
I think this team is so hurt. I think this team is so disappointed. I think, and you can just see it in the way they walk. There's no extra pep in their step. And then we had Aldo Greco on. He's like, man, it is so important that they get out of the box early. No matter what they got to do, they've got to get a win this first game, because if they get a loss, they can throw this season away. Do you agree with that, Kip?
I completely agree with it. I think this game is so pivotal for that team. And again, I put more emphasis probably, I know, than Casse. I've only been working with Kai for a short time, so I don't know what his strong feeling on this is. But I think playing on the road is such a huge factor. And everybody needs to remember these games this weekend, some of these key matchups, these aren't in these neutral field kickoff classic kind of games. Kai's team, Tennessee, is playing at one at Syracuse, but LSU is at Clemson. Texas is at Ohio State. Alabama is at Florida State. And Auburn's going someplace completely far in Waco, Texas, and at Baylor, who finished the season pretty strong other than a pretty disappointing bowl game. I just think going on the road is really daunting, particularly in an opener.
Auburn's 2.5 and 57.5. Kai, is the wrong team favored there?
You know, again, I have said yes all summer. I took Baylor plus 3.5 early on. When the line got over to Baylor minus 2.5, I think that was like 3 weeks ago, I bought a full point and took Auburn minus 3.5, and I'm hoping that I get to middle something. Being my Marine son is a big Auburn fan, so I hope that Auburn wins for him. I also hope Auburn wins just so Legends wrong again. And rub that in when I see him this weekend. I'll make sure to say that if things have changed for Friday night. I'm just up and down. Again, I think it's huge that Baylor lost what everybody's saying is their backup running back. I think he was their best back. I think that is big. Again, Auburn, everybody's saying it, and this worries me. Everybody's saying this is Auburn's most talented team since 2004. Ugh.
Oh my God. I hear that every single year. I always hear all of this, the most talented team since ... It could be 2004, it could be 2011, it could be Cam Newton's last year. It just drives me crazy.
What do you guys think about? What do you guys all think about Jackson Arnold? I mean, Auburn fans are. We got Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold was dreadful last year at Oklahoma.
He's one of those quarterbacks.
He had no help. He didn't even have a wide receiver on the team. He is going to have talent.
All of them got hurt. That's true.
The reason, I've been looking more and more and more, and went back looked at some Oklahoma film even from last year. He is a much better quarterback, in my opinion, than he showed last year. And
he's got to be.
He may be the difference in his legs. He beat Alabama by his freaking self at Oklahoma last year.
In the first half, and then they adjusted and stopped them cold. But Alabama, Jalen Milroe threw that game away with 2 third-quarter interceptions. One of them a pick six, the other one a first and goal.
Do you remember how hot he was when he came out of high school? This kid
he was a huge five-star plus. That was Oklahoma.
They're lucky his ass didn't leave. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they're really lucky that someone didn't come in and say, listen, because his stock is down a little bit. I still believe it's still in there. You just don't lose that in 1 year. And I totally agree with you, Kai. He had no help around him. So, we'll see what happens. Let's get into some plays. We got baseball to get into. We always want to do a little baseball because that's where we've been making some good time money this year. And we're going to continue to do that all the way through the playoff system. My Cincinnati Reds, by the way, are falling off a little bit now, 2.5 out of the wild card. That's the only thing I'm keeping my eyes on right now. They just can't seem to get over the hump. We'll talk about it in a second. Case, let's go straight to you. We do have another show coming up on Friday at 10 o'clock Central Time. So we'll give you some more games. The lines can change. But what piqued your interest? Give me a couple of games line-wise that really kind of throw you. You go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
All right, yeah. Well, I just have Thursday in front of me, and those are the first. It's tough now at 14, but I will say, Kai diagnosed it right. I do really like NC State in this East Carolina game. Just East Carolina got super hot at the end of last year with their interim coach, Blake Harrell. But how many times do we see the interim coach, you keep him and it backfires? They lost basically everyone off that team. They beat NC State, I believe, in the final game of the year, the bowl game. I like what NC State has coming back a lot more. I hate always saying this, but I swear Sunday night I could not believe this line was 11. I put probably my biggest bet of Thursday on 11. I woke up and it was 14 and a half. So
Wow.
I aged pretty well. I still would lean that way at 14. I wouldn't go too crazy. I think 14's got to be the most likely outcome there. So, but I like NC State there. A total I really like, and God, that this number just keeps steaming in Nebraska's direction, almost to the point where I kind of want to bite on Cincinnati too, where it's 7 mostly on across the board. Now, maybe if it gets to 7.5, I would take Cincinnati. But I really just played the over 53.5. I feel like there's a trend for the show. It's just everything you guys are bringing me up or making me think of things I've read or these camp reports, and everything we've heard out of Nebraska is that the offense just looks unbelievable, and that the Raiola Holgorsen marriage has taken another step in year 2, but that the defense is absolutely dreadful, and they're going to have to win every game like 60-50. I mean, Cincinnati's not great, but this could be. I think they have a pretty safe floor.
They're pretty solid, yeah.
So I like the over there, over 53.5. I played in that game. I think the number's just gotten so high. I think I'd have to look back for sure. I'm not sure, but I think Nebraska might have opened like 4.5 or 5. Now it's 7. This is another game at a neutral site at Arrowhead. I still would maybe give Nebraska like a half point of home field or something, because it's going to be like 80-20 Nebraska fan, or maybe even more than that, 90-10 Nebraska fans. I know the Cornhuskers.
Talk about a team and an organization that obviously is a blue blood that's been there forever in Nebraska and just has been down for so long. The sport is so much better when they're good.
So I know they'll fill that place. But I'm on the over there. The Boise State South Florida game, like I said, I kept not being able to get to South Florida as much as I wanted to, but I did end up playing the under 63.5. I think there's some questions on both these offenses with Byron Brown coming back after missing so much of last year and being hurt. Boise State kind of in an identity crisis without Ashton Genty. I think they might try to take it a little bit easier, play a little bit slower paced game, even though both these teams ran a lot of plays last year. So I went with the under there. I'm looking at Friday really quickly. Nothing I really loved on Friday. I did bet Auburn at Pick'em back when I kicking myself. I didn't get the +3 when Baylor went that high of a favorite at one point, but I do buy into the talk that this Auburn team is one of their most talented ones they've had in a while. I know that's a nauseating thing to hear. You don't want to hear it, but I mean, everyone in college football is buzzing about Eric Singleton and saying, all these teams feel like they missed out on him. I think if they can find a way to get him the ball, I think Auburn should have a decent year. I will say I am a little bit worried about Jackson Arnold. That's one guy you've heard nothing about in camp. I mean, I feel like if Auburn really feel like they'd hit on him, they'd be like, "Oh, just wait till you see our offense. Wait till you see Jackson Arnold." I haven't heard anything negative either, but man,
there was a viral video just 1 week ago of Hugh Freeze just flipping his lid. Yeah. Jackson Arnold ended up throwing a pick in a scrimmage, and he was supposed to. The first option was whoever the deep guy might have been Singleton, and Hugh Freeze threw his visor, cussing. What the hell? What are you doing out there? I mean, it went viral, and then Hugh Freeze, who never took a snap in his life, didn't even play football in high school or college, said, "It ain't that dang hard." I mean, he just was acting like a complete ass, just in Jackson Arnold's face, yelling at him.
It looks a little desperate, doesn't it? Yeah. Like he's trying to figure, like he's looking for the reason to throw the jacket. Yeah,
exactly. It ain't that dang hard. Good grief.
No.
Yeah,
If Auburn had a quarterback, I mean, I might be like betting them to win the national championship. I think so well about the rest of their roster, but I don't trust Arnold yet. But I think it's enough to get by here. And just really quickly, I'll give you my thoughts on the two other big games. I get all the hype at Clemson, and it's big for being there. But I actually agree with Kai. I think this game is way more meaningful to LSU. I think LSU is just like Auburn. If they lose this game, I mean, everyone already wants Brian Kelly fired. Imagine they lose like the fourth straight year. Week 1 game. I just think this. I think it could really go off the rails if they lose this. I think this is absolutely huge to LSU, and I know we saw some LSU money this week. It got down to as much as 3 on Monday. It's now there's been some buyback now 3.5. I still think anything over 3 is just. I think LSU is a great bet. I know I bet them 4.5 when it got there. I made a friendly wager with Kai on 4.5. I mean, Clemson, yeah, they have a lot of guys coming back, but I just don't think the talent level is the same as this LSU team. I really like LSU as a dog, and not to try to be oppo on everything. I really wanted nothing to do with this game. I wasn't going to bet it, but another big mover we saw Monday, Ohio State got all the way to pick 'em, and I couldn't help myself. I bet some Ohio State pick 'em. I think Ohio State and Texas are really evenly matched, but it's a home game for the defending national champions. I mean, Texas, everyone's raving about them in the trenches. They've lost 2 offensive line starters in training camp. They have some questions there. I don't necessarily think they're just going to maul Texas. I mean, this is so slight, and it was a smaller bet for me. I wouldn't even lay the 2.5, but at a pick 'em in that other really big game, I did end up playing some Ohio State.
You have to understand that I have to stroke a check to Clemson every 3 months, so maybe that's why I think this game is a little bit bigger on the Clemson side than it is on the LSU side. I've got a little more riding on it than you guys do. I will just say this, based off the way Clemson started the season last year, I've never seen expectations as high at Clemson, and I've been following this football team since the 80s. I've never seen a team with expectations so high than that it is this year. So, I mean, if they would lose this game, it would be a heart wrencher. And they're still in play. They're still good to go, but they're really expecting to have a big win, particularly since the game is at home. Only 2 teams in Major League Baseball National League, the Phillies and the Cubs, were either 7-3 or 8-2. Every other team, Kai, in the National League with either 5-5 or 6-4 and 4-6. The National League is just blah. There's just nothing going on in the National League right now. Let's talk some Major League Baseball. Our numbers are looking really, really good. Phillies, Brewers, Dodgers still in the mix. My Cincinnati Reds, the only team. Really, that's the only race out there if you're looking from a wild card standpoint. They're 2.5 games out. When they got a half game out, I thought, man, they just get over the hump, pull me a little 4 or 5 game. I know Terry Francona is doing everything he can to get that team over the hump. They don't seem to get it. But right now, it doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot changing between now and the end of the baseball season in either league. You agree?
A little bit. I mean, I do have a Tony Curry useless fact for you in baseball, I ask, but just looking at the matchups today for people that are looking at it, and let me real quickly just throw out there, just in case he's listening, happy birthday to my dad, 79 years old today.
Wow. Nice.
4 days ago, so they're old. I mean, they're almost as old as Kip.
Ouch.
All right, so looking at the matchups today, just in pitching, just with the metrics, Kansas City's supposed to beat the White Sox. Cleveland's supposed to beat Tampa Bay. The Phillies are supposed to lose. Boston's supposed to beat Baltimore. Atlanta's supposed to beat Miami. Toronto's supposed to beat Minnesota. The Angels are supposed to beat whoever the hell it is they're playing. Lefty versus lefty. Oh, that's Texas. Texas is 12-22 against lefties. The Cubs are supposed to beat San Francisco, who's 13-23 against lefties. And the Dodgers are supposed to beat your Cincinnati Reds. Anyway, one team has been eliminated from the playoffs, but we all know who that is because they suck. It's Colorado. 7 teams have a 0.1% chance to make the playoffs. I'm going to get rid of the Braves, since we all knew it was the Braves.
Awful.
With a 0.1%. Who are the other 6 teams with a 0.1% chance to make the playoffs?
White Sox got to be in play. Only because I follow them, and I got a bet with a friend of mine because we go Pittsburgh, Cincinnati straight up. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh Pirates. Legends team, the Baltimore Orioles are probably getting close too. Are they in? Okay, Baltimore Orioles.
No.
He loves the Baltimore Orioles. So
yeah, he loves the Orioles, but they are not close to in. They're about still 10 games underwater.
Right. So Minnesota.
Yeah, I was going to say the Twins.
Washington Nationals.
Oakland. Washington. Miami.
Only because Washington's playing worse than the Braves. Yeah.
The Angels have a 0.3% chance of getting in.
They're all out.
The Giants have a 0.5% chance. The Arizona Diamondbacks have a 0.5% chance. but St. Louis is all the way up there with a whopping 1.4% chance.
Woo!
Yeah. And I see my Reds. I just pulled up the thing too. My Reds have got about an 8% chance too, which I don't feel really good about. But
well, they got to get off the West Coast. That's killing them.
Well, they got to get off the West Coast. Their schedule is absolutely brutal, and they just got Green back, who is going to be the linchpin. He's going to be the point. If they make it, it's going to be because of Green. But I don't know.
I think he pitched last night, and I guess he pitched pretty well, but they still lost.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because this year I followed Major League Baseball. I've been following the Reds since, the Big Red Machine. I just love Major League Baseball. I have not been to a game yet this year. I cannot believe I have not been to an MLB game this year. And I usually go to a Braves game or that Braves Red series, but I already missed that, and I'm not driving 2.5 hours to go watch what the Braves are putting on a baseball field right now. It's not worth it. But it does seem like it's just been a really blah since the All-Star break. I mean, I was looking for some bigger trades. I was looking for some bigger action. I was looking for some bigger long things. I haven't seen a whole lot about the long, but I'm just not hearing a lot about Major League Baseball. Maybe it's because it's the dog days of summer. It's the end of August. Everyone's just trying to get to the finish line. Am I wrong there, Case? It just feels like Major League Baseball has been a blah this year.
Yeah, I think always this time of the year, it's hard to. It's just a long season, as you know. I do think the extra wild card has helped a little bit. Give some, as much as I think it randomizes who wins at the end, which I don't like. I do like that it gives us some reason to watch. And that there's all these teams that still. We've seen crazy stories like that where a team like the Cardinals or the Diamondbacks now they're like 5 and 6 games back, where one of them can make a run that you mentioned. There's just more teams in play later, so I guess it's improved in that front. But yeah, it is hard if you're grinding it every single day and paying attention. It does seem like it's never ending and so much excitement with football right now. It's a little hard to get motivated on a daily basis with it.
Was the useless stat the 0.1%? Was that the stat you were going to? That's pretty damn. That's pretty damn worthless. That's pretty bad.
Because by the way, none of those teams are going to make the playoffs. This just in.
No. Programming note. And by the way, if anyone's listening to the show and they're within, say, 200 miles of the Birmingham area, and we have a lot of people here listening to Birmingham because that's where Tony Kurre Radio resides. That's where Kip is. Case out there in Vegas. Of course, Kai's right down there at Ross Bridge. We're having a big get-together from 5 to 7 tonight. Soho Social down in beautiful Homewood, Alabama. We're going to have a kickoff to the college football season down there, something that Kiss put together. So you come down there and shake hands with the legend and all of us. I'm going to be down there. Should be a large time. Kai's going to make it down there for a little bit. Case is flying in from Las Vegas just for a couple hours. Then he's going to fly right back out, take care of his kid, and go to bed.
It's good that he has his own plane.
Yes, it does. A big time.
Is that the place I ate at a couple times? There's some place called Social. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. It gets my seal of approval. I loved I liked it better than anyone else, but the food there was outstanding.
Do not order the filet mignon well done. Just don't do it. Get medium. Just get the medium rare, because if you get it well done, you're going to go, why is it so tough? I was like, because you fried the hell out of it. Leave it alone. Let it
Kai's favorite guy. Kai's favorite guy.
Not allow him to ever buy a $47 steak again, or let you buy him.
Legend sent his filet mignon back 3 times because it was undercooked. So
when they ever be allowed to order steak, if they order it well done or anything else, they should be stuck ordering off his menu.
He gets the chicken fingers and fries. When they asked him, how do you like that cooked? He said, yes.
Yeah.
He said yes. And they're like, no, how do you like it? He goes, yes, I do want to cook.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So make sure you check that out. We got that going on. And then something else we're doing super cool, and I know Kippy put this together. I love this. We used to do this with stocks. When I did the morning show with Al and Jay, you would get a $50,000 portfolio, if you will, of stocks. You could buy stocks. At the end of the year, we were going to see who had the most money. This year, we're getting $150
a week.
And a week, $150 a week. Thank goodness, because I can blow through that one game. And you get to pick 3 teams, 1 team, parlay, whatever you want to do. And we'll see who's got the most money. So we're going to put our money where our mouth is in college football this year. And is that going to go for pro too? We can do pro picks, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Once the NFL kicks off, you've got your $150. You can use it on your bankroll for a 3-game parlay, 3 single bets, just 2 single bets, 1, just put it on somebody's nose. You can do any of those combinations.
All right, that should be a lot of fun. You can watch it on
Syracuse.
ABC 3340.
The starting lineup bankroll competition.
You don't have to go Roku. You don't have to go any of those weird internet things. Just go to terrestrial, good old television, one of the big four, ABC 3340, 10:30, 11 o'clock. And, of course, that will butt up right up against that Syracuse-Tennessee
game. That's
so
right.
what
Followed by Alabama at Florida State. And at night on ABC, Clemson and LSU.
My TV will not change channels. My TV will not change channels. And by the way, I've got this giant black line that goes right down the middle of my TV screen. It's been on there since Christmas last year.
Oh, geez.
I know. My son's like, I'm never coming home again until you get that damn TV replaced. And I'm like, I've gotten so used to seeing this line that it doesn't even bother me anymore. And the old man is like, oh, that's right. The wheel falls off. It's still on. I can still see people on the TV. He's like, get rid of that damn TV. And now you can get like an 85-inch TV for $37. I'm like, you know what? I may go ahead and make the investment just in time to watch the starting lineup and all the three of these ball games on ABC 3340 this weekend. It's going to be a great weekend.
Yeah, one final thought on tonight's event at Soho Social. We're going to be doing this throughout the year at the various Soho properties and at the Birmingham Racecourse Casino. And if you ever wanted to have your moment on television, here's your chance. The camera will be rolling at every one of these. We're going to get contestants to challenge Casse Keefer. They're going to give their best bets of the week. And Casse is going to declare once he hears the picks from John Q. Public if he's going to book it or bet it. So that'll be a lot of fun.
That's going to be a blast. So hopefully we'll see you later on tonight, Soho Social there in Homewood. And we'll give you updated throughout the football season where we're going to be and how we're going to do it. Yeah, this is not one of those Wayne's World things where it's like, okay, when's the show at 3 o'clock in the morning? No, it's 10:30 right before
kickoff.
11 o'clock. It's an awesome spot. Something you landed a couple of years ago. We'll never let it go. So check us out. Of course, we had James Spann on the show last week, who was just fantastic.
James is a beast.
I think he named 47. I think I counted 47 Alabama towns without repeating one at one point. He's like, I can go all day for this. And I said, I can sit there and watch you all day. He, of course, is a part of the Alabama Weather Network, brand new. He's in cahoots with Bill Hardikoff. Those two guys are working together. Of course, Bill used to be the GM of the Birmingham Barons back in the 80s and early 90s. So they got a good thing going on there. All right, for the four guys, the three guys, and the fourth, me being himself, we thank you so much for checking us out. Don't forget again on Friday, thanks to Coastal Digital Sports Network and Angel, his entire crew for doing just a fantastic job. Of course, we greatly appreciate you and everything that we do right here on Tony Curry Radio. We'll see you Friday, 10 o'clock Central, boys. Thank you.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.